Aloha, welcome to ProphetChic this December 14th, 2017. We are in the last seconds of the last days as God warned us not to scare us, but to prepare us for what is coming so that you and I, Christians, can be salt and light, readying the rest of the world for what is coming very quickly. Now, as we continue to be awake and alert, we must also be about the Father's business. Are you ready? That's the main question. Happy Hanukkah. Once again, we are into the third day of the 8-day winter celebration of Festival of Lights in the Jewish tradition. And it is continue to light one candlestick on the menorah every day. Today is day 3. Celebrating God is victorious eternally. Today in news around the world, a very quick wrap up and then an application and prayer. According to the AP, Palestinian representatives, I refuse to call them diplomats because they're not diplomatic at all, Palestinian representatives want the United Nations Security Council to vote on a resolution rejecting President Trump and the American people's decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital, even though the measure will certainly face U.S. veto, because we are powerful in the UN, and they're just being ridiculous. So once again, distraction is destruction, and Palestinian people do not own that land, according to this land document, this contract, the Bible. In other news, the United States, which wants to prevent violence spilling over from Syria into Lebanon, will give the Lebanese army $120 million more aid to boost border security and counterterrorism, the U.S. ambassador to Lebanon announced yesterday. Now, you remember that Lebanon is a country named in Ezekiel 38. And so we're still setting up the Ezekiel 38 World War III. Meanwhile, U.S. Ambassador Nikki Haley made big headlines today in the spiritual realm as she presented irrefutable evidence that Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, covered up violations of international obligation, which means, real bottom line, simply said, they're hiding their nuclear weapons, and the fact that they're developing a nuclear weapon and that everything that they do is for a nuclear weapon in Iran. In other news, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu believes that banks are going the way of the dinosaur and Bitcoin is the meteor that will bring it to extinction. The BBC today reporting a suicide bomber killed at least 18 police officers at a parade at a training center in Somali capital of Mogadishu. At least 15 other people were wounded. China's central bank followed the U.S. Federal Reserve by raising interest rates in a move that surprised economists. Now, you realize that the world economy is a very interconnected World Wide Web, and it's as fragile right now as a spider's web. And so we're watching things closely as the Federal Reserve, which is not a federal entity at all, they just call themselves that, as the Reserve raised the rates, and now China. Something to watch. The WND World News Daily reporting that a new Pew Research Center survey found a majority of U.S. adults believe the religious parts of Christmas are de-emphasized, now more than ever before, but not many people are doing anything by it. In fact, most adults are not bothered by it. It's another case of the frog being boiled to death, slowly and surely turning up that degree until we just forgot what it was all about. Now, again, I want to give you the rhema of this week that I've been focusing on, that God's time, Kairos, is contracting. As we know, the birth pangs of the world will be contractions. And so things seem to be getting tighter and tighter on the spiritual battle level. And yet the world is slowing down. They're going in the opposite direction. You see a lot more lines, a lot more traffic, a lot more distraction, and people going slow and losing their minds. We must stay focused, especially knowing that we can't do everything. We can't even do the very good things, because the very good gets in the way of God's best. So we are being focused because of this contraction of time. We must only do what we must only do. May God be with you. And the other way to say it is that there's a lot of quantity in the world, but to God, it's all about quality. So spend good time with your best people and your best friends, your best family. Last prayer flare, remember that the religious freedoms of every man, woman, and child in the United States, and therefore because we're the free country leading the world, that every man, woman, and child in the world, the religious freedom of all of us is in Supreme Court of the United States hands as they continue to deliberate over Jack the Baker's his case. And this is a decision which has huge implications. As I just said, every man, woman, and child, they're deciding whether you can be forced by the government to do things that go against your faith, to do things that go against your Christian faith. I will be more explicit, because they're not trying to violate Muslim faith at all. They're protecting that. They're not violating Buddhist or Hare Krishna or anything else. They're violating Christian faith, forcing the Christians to violate Jesus and our relationship with him. So please continue to pray for the 8 or 9 Supreme Court of the United States justices. And they just made another decision about net neutrality, the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, about the freedom of communication on the World Wide Web. So many things going on, family. Just stay in prayer. Jesus warned to be awake, aware, and about the Father's business. Are you ready? Don't get ready. Be ready. Be about the Father's business. Share the good news and this video. God bless you. Godspeed. Take care of one another.